Welcome, everyone. This is episode 13 of the podcast. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Phu, and it's good to film another episode again. I just finished a gym workout, just had a banana, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to make another episode. I think it's been about a month since my last episode. A couple of things in my life have been a bit busier, so I've been taking my time with the episodes so that when I do create content, I hope that it's better quality, because it's one thing to set a schedule, like every week upload a new episode or every day, do a stream. But if that comes at the expense of quality, then sometimes you've got to reconsider what you're doing. And I definitely had to do that for myself. So I'll give you guys some very quick updates before we get into today's topic. I'm currently in a new transition in my life. So last year, I was dabbling around the idea of moving on from streaming. This year, I absolutely have decided to move on from streaming. And in a way, I tried to kind of hold on to that for a while. Like, I justified, you know what, I'll stream part-time now, I'll do less hours and it'll be higher quality. And then eventually it became, you know what, I think I'm just gonna, just stream as a hobby. But I've hit the point where I really do want to move on. Now, it doesn't mean I'll never stream again. It doesn't mean that I won't stream as a hobby either. But in my heart, I know it's time. I've done it for pretty much almost 7 years now. Like, coming up on the 12th of this month of February would be my 7-year streaming anniversary since I started. And this will lead into today's topic. And I want to explain from my point of view what led to that decision. So a couple of things is that when I became more successful on Twitch, it was around the time of the pandemic. So I became a Twitch partner in 2019, and entering 2020, I was entering my third year of streaming, and I got to experience the success bubble, right? Which was the 2-year period where the lockdowns happened and people were watching a lot of streams. There was a lot of high demand that, because I was also locked down, I was streaming a lot and I saw a lot of success. Now, at the time, I was deciding whether, I go to full-time work in the office or I do this streaming thing. But because I saw this streaming thing work, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And it worked for a while. Then post-lockdowns ending, people started going out more, my numbers started declining, and I wasn't making the financial goals that I had. It became very stressful. So that's where I started seeking new opportunities. I started picking up new hobbies. I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I absolutely love right now. And now it's 2024. And, I just had a job interview for a pretty strong position. Whether I get it or not, I don't know. But when I had that interview, that whole 1-hour interview, by the time I finished it, it really hit me that, yes, this is me moving on. So I want to put out my gratitude. I want to put out my thanks for all the listeners, for everyone who joined me these past 7 years as a streamer. It doesn't mean that it's over forever. There might be a time in the future where I come back and, and have a new lens of the world and I have a new style of content and I want to be creating again. Maybe I'll pick it up in the future. But as of this point, I see myself in an office doing 9 to 5, traditional work life, and building my life, and that's where I'm at right now. So with that being said, today, I really want to talk about a topic that I've brought up on stream before, but I think this could be very helpful for you if you find yourself experiencing what I would probably call different seasons of your life. Okay, so if you think of like the weather, for example, like there are different seasons throughout the year. There's summer, autumn, winter, spring. Now, from my understanding and from different resources I've watched and read over the years and just my own personal experiences, I also believe that we experience different seasons of life. And in the two areas I want to focus on just for this podcast, especially since we're focused around empowering people, is that you're going to have different seasons of emotions throughout the year, and you're going to have different seasons of motivation and inspiration throughout the year. So basically, to get right into it, the concept is that if you know what season you're currently in, you can ride with it and get the most out of it. Because if, let's just say, for example, we'll use the seasons of the weather and we'll correlate it with our emotions. So let's just use, for example, let's say you're on a summer season, right? It's hot, it's fire, it's energetic, you're feeling inspired, you're excited to go out and do things. The energy is a lot higher that when you are no longer in that summer season, you might think something is wrong. Like you might be entering your winter season and all of a sudden your energy is lower, your demeanor is quieter, you seem less energetic, you don't seem as happy to other people, and people might even ask you, what's wrong? Are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine, just chill. So what I'm saying is that I know this from personal experience that if I was trying to operate from a particular season that I'm not in, Like, let's just say I'm trying to be in my summer season, but I'm actually experiencing a winter right now. That disconnect, that friction can cause a lot of stress and anxiety because you want the high energy. You want your mind and your body to be a certain way, but it's just not happening. That you're thinking there's something wrong with you. But no, in actuality, you're probably just going through a different temporary season. Now, the point is that these seasons serve purpose. These seasons of your life have meaning. Like if you're in your winter season, like let's just say you're feeling more chill, you're more reserved, you're probably isolating more, you're not going out as much, you're probably not feeling as social, wanting to see friends, is that this is probably the best time for you to let your energy rebuild from within. Like those nights where, in the summer season, you would have went out a lot more. Maybe you went out with friends or you did a lot more activities and you're thriving and you're enjoying it. But now you're in your winter season. And when you try to do those things, you just don't seem to have that same spark. You don't seem to have that same energy. It's time to go within. It's time to allow yourself, not necessarily to be lazy, not necessarily to jump in the bed and bed rot, but what I'm suggesting is that you will allow yourself that time to let the energy, the season within you to cultivate, because it serves a positive purpose as well. Like you might have more irritable days. You might have more emotional days. You might be feeling sonder. You might be feeling pondering. You might be contemplating aspects of your life. And, you might even be feeling slightly sad or depressed about things. But understand that this is a very natural experience that a lot of people are going to have. It's not natural for you to be in a summer season year round. Like you're going to have your winters. And what about your autumns? Like you're not necessarily cold. You're not necessarily hot, but you're kind of in the middle. That's also a healthy place to operate from because you're not necessarily super psyched about anything. You're not necessarily down about anything, but you're kind of in the middle. And that's a very healthy place to operate as well, which is where you're going to probably think a lot clearer. You're going to have a more logical process behind the things that you're planning. And that with that season, you can set goals, So in the first area of emotions is that this is one that we can absolutely identify. And one of the ways to identify it is you want to look for what I call patterns and trends, okay? So let's say during the summer that you usually wake up kind of early, you feel like going for a run, you feel like exercising a lot more. You know what? When that summer's here, go for it. Make the most of it. You know that this thing's probably not going to last for, forever. It's during that time where I would suggest if you recognize you're in what I call the summer season, be as productive as you want to be. Hit the gym as much as you can. Do the goals and hobbies that you set for. Take those travel plans if you can. Take up that extra study. Spend more time with people because you have the energy to expel. You have the energy to use, right? And you can notice that because you'll just naturally feel more ready to do things. Okay, so that's the signal. But how do you know if you're in a winter? It's very, very simple. You probably feel a little bit off, an unnaturally amount of off compared to your summer. Like you feel like you want to be indoors a bit more. You want to make a hot chocolate and just watch some TV. You feel like reading a book, or you feel like just doing more down low activities for a while. It's during that time. Now, you might be going through an actual crisis. In that case, I definitely would recommend you to go see a professional if you can, because depression and anxiety is a whole different level. A season of emotions different. This is a temporary time where you feel a certain way, but an actual mental health crisis, please go get help for that. And maybe you need to talk to someone about that. But from a winter perspective, I'm definitely in a winter right now. It's summer here in Australia, right? You think I'd be in a summer, but I'm so opposite. Like personally for me, I know every summer, this has happened probably for the past 15 years of my life. Summer, I get really laid back. Summer, I get kind of reserved. Summer, I sometimes experience just really random waves of emotions. And it's very, very frustrating because I like the summer mode version of me, right? I can think back to many of my streams back in the Januaries, the Februaries, the Decembers, where on stream, I'm quite mellow. People ask me questions and I'm giving very mellow answers about things. They're like, you know what? Life isn't all about this. It's just about chilling, And then you'll catch me during winter when I'm in my summer and I'm super, super productive. I'm hitting the gym once a day, almost twice a day, going for extremely long walks. I'm reading books. I'm pumping out crazy amounts of streams. I'm making lots of vlogs. And this is a pattern, right? So everyone's pattern's going to be slightly different, especially yours. Your pattern might be different too. But the main principle here is emotionally, or the other aspect, which is which actual season you're in when it comes to productivity, for example, is just to recognize what season you're in and remind yourself that this is normal. This experience that I'm having is what I'm supposed to experience. This experience is for me. Okay. Like I know, and I still struggle with this, is that when I'm in my winter season, I have to embrace the winter season. And I'm not just talking about the weather. I'm talking about how I feel on the inside, where I don't feel like as fired up for things. Because here's the thing. That energy is cultivating for the next summer season that I have. And it's during this season where I can slow things down. It's during the season where I can reflect. It's during this season where I can think about what I've done in the past, what I can do better. And I know that the summer is coming, so I got to be patient for it. I'm not saying that the summer is the only time you can be happy. I'm just saying that that's when my energy is at its best. So with that being said, though, I will lead into the next era, which is different seasons of your life. So that was emotional seasons, but what about seasons of your life? You might be in a season of, if we use like dating, for example, you might be in a season of waiting. You might be in a season of singleness. And let's just say your desire is to meet somebody. You want to meet someone. You want to meet the love of your life. You want to fall in love. Or it could be your season of waiting in progressing in your career, which is where I'm at right now. Like I'm currently looking to get a new full-time job, enter a whole new workspace. And I'm in a season of waiting where I'm putting in the time, I'm putting in the work, I'm sending out applications, and I may not necessarily see things happen right away. But understand this is that, you know, as long as you're diligent, as long as you're actually like putting in a reasonable amount of effort, things are heading that course. Things are heading that direction. So the best tip I can give you is that if you're ever stressed about the speed of something that is happening in your life, okay, how fast something is happening, okay, if you're stressed that if you're applying for jobs or you're trying to find someone or you're trying to get in shape or whatever this thing that you're trying to do, you're trying to build your relationship with your friends, you're trying to strengthening your relationship with God, whatever your thing is, it's not just the speed that matters. In fact, I don't think the speed is the most important factor. What is important is the direction that you are going. Okay, I'll repeat that again. Don't worry about the speed of progress. What you should focus on is that you're headed in the right direction in the first place, which is why these seasons matter. Because in those seasons, in your winter season, for example, you might have the time to contemplate and ask yourself, am I actually headed the right direction? You know, am I going the right way in the first place? I'm so worried about trying to go fast. I'm so worried about trying to get there as fast as possible that I may not actually be heading in the right direction in the first place. So what I've done in my time of, you know, winter, in my time of contemplation, in my time of trying to think about where I'm going, is that I get the time to think, you know what, am I headed in the right direction? And that's what I did when it came to streaming. I asked myself, is this still where I want to go? Do I still want to do this? And when I finally got to the answer, which was, no, I don't think so, I was able to realign my direction. I was able to refocus where I'm going, which is, you know what? I do want to work in public health. I do want to work with mental health challenges. I do want to help with reform. I do want to help with helping people with this skill set that I have. And now that I'm pointed in a better direction, doesn't mean that I don't stress about the speed of progress, but at least I know that the direction that I'm going is where I'm supposed to be going. Okay. So that's my advice to you. And that's just my friendly tip to you is that you're feeling stressed, just think to yourself, you know what? I'm going the right direction. I'm eventually going to get there. You keep taking steps daily, you'll eventually get there. In your season of waiting, right? In your season of waiting for this next thing to happen in your life, you know, maybe you're waiting for, you know, the next job offer, the next phone call for an interview. It could be, you know, maybe you're scrolling on Hinge or Tinder, or like, you know, you're going on dates and it's just not working out. It's like, oh, when am I ever going to meet this person? Is that, hey, you're probably headed the right direction in the first place. The key is patience, and patience is so hard, especially when you're going through a hard time. So that's where I wanted to share today. And you know what? I didn't even write any notes for this episode. I wanted to speak straight from the heart because I think my podcast will be a lot more effective. Obviously, it's good to be prepared and have notes, which I usually do for every episode. But this one was something I've been thinking about for weeks. You know, I've been thinking about my own seasons. I've been thinking about what direction I'm going. And I've come to the conclusion that yes, if you're headed the right direction, you'll probably eventually get there. You'll most likely get there. So the best thing is just take your time and don't feel too bad about changing decisions. You know, like it was not easy for me to let go of streaming. It wasn't easy for me to let go of speedrunning. In fact, you know, the route that I ran for speedrunning Zelda is no longer the fastest in the category that I ran. You know, they found a new discovery very recently and I have no interest in running it. People have asked me, oh, are you going to run the new category? Are you going to run the new route? And I'm like, no, I think that's my signal to move on. You know, I've been waiting for a sign. I've been in my waiting season of waiting while deciding, is this what I want to do? I realized that, yeah, you know what? I do want to move on from this. I do want to go see what else I'm made of. You know, I'm turning 33 later this year, and I'm sure if I'm still doing this podcast years from now, like when I'm 40, I'm sure I'm going to have so many new stories to share with you. But that comes with working through the seasons, your emotional seasons and the seasons of time that you're going through. Okay. So like I'll iterate in pretty much every episode is that everything is done one step at a time. Like you're looking for that next job. You're trying to get in shape, want to make new friends, whatever it is. The practical thing that's in front of you is the next step that you take. So try and do something positive. Definitely like take it easy and don't forget to be kind to yourself. So with that being said, thank you for listening to the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment if you enjoyed it. If you're listening on Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms, I'd really appreciate a positive review and sharing it with someone that you think might enjoy it, because that would help me too. Because now that I'm no longer streaming, you know, this may be my next form of support. Like when I launch Patreon properly and I make more exclusive content and people want to subscribe, that'll help me a lot too. So thank you for joining today's episode. I'll see you next time. Can't promise I'm gonna upload regularly like I did before. But when I do upload an episode, I hope it's a good one, because that's the value that I want to share with you. So take care, have a good one. Thank you for listening to the episode. I'll see you later. Have a great week wherever you are in the world. And don't forget, it all happens one step at a time. And if you're going through a season right now, understand that it's only a season and it's not a permanent thing for the rest of your life. It's just a temporary time that's going to pass and you're going to make it through. So take care, look after yourself, and understand that you are worthy. You can make it. Just take it one step at a time. All right? Have a good one.